Hello everyone, this is Final Fight for the Commodore 64. No, you're not having some horrible flashback, I am playing this again. In the original playthrough of this I did, there wasn't a left directional key. I found this version where there's a full set of direction keys. By the way, you just saw Guy at the beginning, because unfortunately I can't seem to start this version in one player mode. You press the action key and the player 2 appears. The only way round that was to wait until the enemies killed the second player. And then when it says, do you want to continue, in that bit at the top of the screen, you just press no, and that's that. I think it might have cost me a credit though, because instead of each player having a certain amount of credits, you share credits between you, which is a stupid kind of setup. Let's not complain about it. Certainly not when there are so many other things in this game to complain about, like the rubbish collision detection, and the fact that these controls are just so flipping stiff and awkward and unresponsive. There seems to be no actual skill involved in this. You just stand there next to the people exchanging blows, and it's purely a matter of luck who falls over first. And the animation is rubbish as well. They look like they levitate you when they fall over. I don't know how you do the special move. In the arcade game there are 2 buttons, you have to press them both at the same time to get the special move. There's only one action key in this. How you do the special moves is anybody's guess. Incidentally, when I first started playing this I thought there were 2 of the enemies beating each other up. So that guy just seems to be more or less the same as generic enemy there. The Street Fighter conversions on the Commodore 64 were rubbish as well. I can't help thinking all these bloody awful conversions were what helped bring down the Commodore 64. All that and Commodore trying to market it as a cartridge machine. There was a cartridge port, but apart from the Action Replay cartridge, and I think you got a free cartridge with some games on it with the Commodore at that point, I don't ever remember seeing Commodore 64 cartridge games on sale. That was about 91, 92. There was a thing about it in all the magazines. They stopped supplying the tape machine with it because the tape deck was not in the main computer, it was a separate thing, which basically meant that anybody buying a new Commodore 64 would be unable to play any of the games, which was more or less the death knell of the machine, quite honestly. I think you could still get tape decks from other places. I mean, then again, the quality is going to be hit and miss, isn't it? There's no in-game music in this whatsoever. There's Doug and Bread, who seem to look identical here apart from palette swaps. US Gold incidentally had a habit of releasing bloody awful conversions of arcade games. Knife thrower there. Supposed to be Mexican, I think. So, Mr. Hager, we meet again. Or something like that. Here's Axel. He needs to find a barber with a sense of humour. This was released for the C64 in 1991. Cost $10.99 or 15 quid if you got the disc version. Despite the fact that it's absolutely bloody awful. I can't believe this got 89% in Your Commodore magazine. What did the review say? Well, the game was absolute bollocks, but that brown paper bag full of cash that US Gold gave me was really good. I was pretty suspicious of some of the reviews in computer magazines back then, to be honest. I mean, these days all the blooming mainstream reviewers are all on the fiddle. The only honest reviews you'll find are on places like YouTube. You know, there are channels like Heel vs Babyface, The Critical Drinker, Nerderotic, I think Bowls Trek is another one. I mean, they're much more trustworthy. I mean, they're actual fans who are in tune with the public. Here we are in the second bit. They seem to have changed some of the enemy patterns round in this. In the arcade game, this section ends with Bill Bull and that G. Oliver or something. There's head-butting, charging attack people. It's Andor in this version. Oh, look at this. Absolutely no skill whatsoever involved. Just walk up to them, hammer on the fire button, hope for the best. Results are completely at the whim of the computer. Yes, here we are. I've got to break the crates, stuff inside them. What they are is anybody's guess. They're so badly drawn I can't tell. Some of them are knives, presumably. Collision detection in this game is so rubbish, the weapons are hardly worth a bother anyway. Yeah, there's Andor there, presumably based on Andre the Giant. Although I think the idea of the whole family being wrestlers was actually based on a German wrestling family. I think it was because of Final Fight that Streets of Rage happened. As they released Final Fight on the Nintendo, then Sega needed something to compete with it. Then ironically, I think the Streets of Rage sequels probably caused the Final Fight sequels. And Final Fight 2, I mean it looks alright and it works and everything, but it just feels like what it is, the kind of quickie sequel. I think Nintendo needed it out as soon as possible to compete with Streets of Rage 2 on the Mega Drive. I'm pretty sure it didn't start out with you going around the world to all different places, because a lot of the backgrounds just look like generic fighting game backgrounds. They've put the occasional little detail in, like the Eiffel Tower or something in the background. Or windmills or something. Has anyone noticed how the Holland level with the windmills in Final Fight 2 has got mountains in the background? It's Holland. It's supposed to be flat. Final Fight 3 is a much better game. I mean, that looks like it's had a lot of time and effort put into it. There's all these secret levels and alternative routes and stuff, and you actually interact with the scenery, so there's kind of thought involved in it. First time I played it, I actually didn't know what had happened at the end of one of the levels. The level suddenly ends abruptly, and then you go into a completely different next level with a bow and stuff, and there's a Captain Hadit or someone. I think if you actually break the bus stop sign, the bus doesn't stop and then you have to go around a different level. I think it's a shame they didn't continue the Final Fight series, really. They've developed it. I mean, after that there was a Final Fight one-on-one beat-up, where all the characters looked like they were made out of Lego. And Final Fight Revenge, or less said about that the better. They're basically trying to turn it into something it's not. There's punks who look more like they're wearing those paper hats you get in Crackers. It's almost out of lives, it's only level 1. This game is just so hard. It's not really hard, it's just being cheap. Very badly programmed. Don't know why they stopped doing scrolling beat-em-ups after Final Fight 3 and Streets of Rage 3. I don't know whether there were any others, but I mean the main series just came to an end after that. All those fan-made scrolling beat-em-ups on YouTube and stuff. I mean, it shows there are still a lot of people who like that sort of gameplay. I've never been quite sure why there was never a Mega Drive Final Fight, to be honest. When they converted it to just about everything else. Well, there was eventually a Mega CD version. I think that was probably the best of the home console, home computer versions. It actually looked and played like the arcade version. I think the soundtrack was the best version as well. The Nintendo version's alright. Alright, there's a level missing and one of the characters is missing. It's still a good play though. Never played the Amiga version. It looks like the arcade game, but apparently there's a lot of things wrong with it. Poison. I just don't buy all that rubbish about Poison being a man in drag. With Roxy. You know, I think that Capcom just said that to make all the blooming little feminist activists go away. Why they couldn't have just told them to mind their own fucking business, I don't know. Bloody fipping political activists interfering in computer games. It's all over the place now. Women are not allowed to be attractive, men are not allowed to be heroic. Political activists are not interested in computer games. They're not interested in actually playing these sort of things. All this cancel this, ban that is just a victory for their tiny-minded little... well, it is a cult really, isn't it? Or something like that. There seems to be some sort of levitating contest going on here. And this is just getting really irritating now. It's just no fun to play whatsoever. Oh, and here's the boss, who seems to be an Egyptian pharaoh for some reason. Probably made sense when they made this game. And yeah, what I said about this game before still stands. It's absolute rubbish. Total waste of a licence. Deeper